Now we're going to do something new. It's now time for the ladies. And it's absolutely great for me to introduce you to Marti Heri. But we've done the mind, we've done what it's like to be a coach, and now Marti is going to go into something completely different, which is the more practical side of coaching. So Marti, I'm going to hand over to you.
I'm not only here to represent gymnastics, actually, because I'm a movement specialist, education specialist, and I've got a passion in sports development. So, okay, so just a few things about myself. I'm basically a national development manager for the South African Gymnastics Federation. And my main role and responsibility in the organization is education and training to make sure there is growth and development in the sport and transformation. I'm also holding a master's degree, which I attained in Hungary. So before you're wondering about my accent, we had quite an international team on today. And so I'm from Hungary, born and bred, and I did physical education and sports science. And I also have another degree in movement therapy, which is aiming to help children with special needs. I also have an international course facilitator certificate that I'm doing some courses time to time for Foundation of Gymnastics, and an author and lead facilitator of various training courses and physical education. I also led the team of the Gymnastics Federation from the lockdown to get through our sport back to operation with some safe coaching and health and safety training. And we also have some nice seminars like yours to help our members to engage with them, as well as we have some home challenges on our social media. So I had to learn quite a few skills. So just as John said, we took the opportunity to grow in the sport and grow my skills during this time. I was also involved in high performance sport. I represented South Africa in the Protea team for volleyball in the All Africa Games in 1995. And I was Western Province volleyball coach for a few years. And in the meantime, I also was actually a swimming coach at Vineyard Swimming Club. And I have had some athletes in my junior team that made it to high performance, like Natalie du Toit, Sarah Purver, who came, we all know Natalie du Toit, obviously. She became a very good Paralympic swimmer and also currently is a very good mentor and inspiration for many in South Africa. And Sarah Purver, who was at the Sydney Olympics behind Penny Hens, but she was also world ranked #1 in swimming. And also Jan Frodeno, who represented Germany at the Olympic Games in London and became triathlon world champion and Olympic champion. So it's quite a broad spectrum that I'm working in with sports development and currently in gymnastics. I'm not only representing gymnastics now, but as I said, more importantly, movement and physical education. So I just like to lead you through in gymnastics what we do or to get back our nation into shape mentally and physically in this time. Our organization is there to create, through participation in gymnastics society, of accomplished, self-confident individuals who are able to impact their own world positively with the lesson they've learned. This is our vision in gymnastics. And it's been shaping and forming many years, but we are all very passionate about this. And also our mission is to empower each other in physical, emotional, and mental skills, to offer a wide range of well-designed programs to all ages, which is quite unique, because not like many sports, we actually can cater for many and be very inclusive. Also to create many opportunities and to create a loyal discipline and camaraderie with mutual respect and self-confidence. So let's look at the challenges that they are in school sport, in particular in South Africa currently. You know, there is a program with accessibility and affordability of sport. And it was very interesting to listening to Funeko because he was talking about the disadvantaged background he came and how did he actually manage to get to a point that he was more exposed to a good facility. And I'm very glad to hear that also they have hubs, like we have hubs, which is actually in the community helping the others. With COVID-19, obviously, we have a huge problem with social distancing and physical distancing and also sanitization, which lead us that we got no events, no national schools tournaments, no gathering. But would it stop us from actually do school sport and coaching? Also, we have other challenges in South Africa in schools, like health challenges in youth, obesity and diabetes is a big factor, immune issues with reduced physical activities. We also need to catch up the academic year, which is obviously the priority. And we are actually, most of our children live in an unsafe home, in an unsafe community, or unsafe school, but for many, actually school is the safest place to be. And unfortunately nowadays, that's a problem for children, because if they don't go to school until the end of August, they're back to a very unsafe environment. The real challenge is that there is about 10% of the 25,000 schools in South Africa that are participating in sport. And the Minister Natim Netwa emphasized that this needs major improvement. So what we are trying to do is to actually get a solution, what would made it possible for much more children. And I'm not only talking about school sport as competitive sport, I'm talking about activities taking place in school, because most of our children are actually school going. Let's look at the facts. According to 2018 statistics, 35% of South Africa's population is under 18 years old. Did you realize that? So if I'm talking about a big population of 58,000, 1/3 of the people are actually dependent. It's over 20 million that are dependent. And currently there are 12 million learners at school. I got it from a friend who works at the Western Cape Department of Education, Ishmael Taladia, in life orientation, and he confirmed that. So if we have about 20 million under 18, out of that 12 million is actually school going. How about participation in schools enrichment programs? How many learners they take part in regular physical activity? What do you think? We know that physical education doesn't really exist in schools. We do have curriculum, but it's not really implemented for many, many reasons. One of the reasons could be is that the facility, one of the reasons could be that there is no teachers training, physical education teachers training. And you guys, the coaches who are here on this platform, and you are here because you are passionate about working with children, you are passionate about making a difference, and you actually become that who will be implementing sport or physical education in schools. And how many % of learners of a school take part in any form of extramural activities? Let's see, maybe a school with 1,000 learners, and we've got many of these schools in South Africa, many of the schools, like even primary schools, that over 1,000 learners. If you look at that said reality, in a school of 1,000, or in general, even if it's 100 children, only about 25% that is actually taking place in any type of extramural activity. I'm not talking about school sport, I'm talking about any extramural activity. Now, what happens to the rest of the 75%? Now, do they stay at school? Do they go home? Or maybe they go somewhere else that is not safe? And especially now that they're not even at school, we don't even know where they are. So out of the 25%, how many learners are actually participating in school? So what I'd like you to do now is to maybe write your answers in the chat box, because with Sean and Cassie, we got a wonderful opportunity here that we can interact with you in a way. So if you have like 3 questions, then maybe what you can do is just write like question number 1, this is what I think, number 2, this is what I think, and number 3, and let's see what will come across, and maybe Sean can help me with that. So the first question from my side would be, what type of extramural activities are actually there at the schools? At the school that you are working at, or when your children are going to, or in general in your town where you're staying in your area? Maybe think about that. Now, other question would be, what are the most popular sporting codes at school? I'm sure that that example is going to be cricket and rugby. I mean, we can even see that amongst you guys that are attending these webinars are mainly team sports. And the third question will be, what age group is the most active at school sport? It's very important to see these things, because then we see where our school coaching strength is and what are we doing in schools. So I'd just like to get maybe Sean to look at if there's any answers coming in and give me some feedback.
I see that there are some answers about athletics, cricket, netball, hockey, rugby. So there are some, there's some feedback on that. From our perspective, there's a lot of activity in primary school, but a little bit less in high school.
Okay. Well, actually, when I was looking at the statistics, it was very interesting to also see that probably about 60% of the children are actually in primary school, obviously, out of the 12 million. And yet our school sport, especially when it comes to events, it's taking place in high school. Now, what I'd like to go forward to is basically to see what do you think the reasons are for poor participation in school sport. So now if we had, let's say, 1,000 learners in the school, 250 children are doing in any extramural activities. It could be sports, choir, Euroscubs, maybe scouting, maybe some garden or other interesting life skills programs, and maybe 180 will take place in school sport.
So,
and
Marti, your presentation is in presenter's view.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to full screen. Hi, presenter's view. Is it better now?
That's much better. Thank you very much.
Thank you for telling me. So the facility it could be a problem. I mean, like for example, for the outdoor sport, even with the outdoor sports, we got schools that they got all the nice facilities with the full grass, but then with the Western Cape, we had a problem 4 years ago when we couldn't even water the field. So one of the schools tournament was going to be cancelled, the nationals in the Western Cape, because of that reason. But also most of the facilities are very limited with space, ablution facilities, whatever it is the case. Could it be the equipment? And again, many of the school sport codes, like especially the team sports code, are relying on lots of equipment. And Cassie was saying about gymnastics. When you did that in primary school, I mean, there's not many schools who would be fully equipped with gymnastics equipment. So I'm not here to tell you now you have to have all those equipments. I'm here to tell you that there are very many ways that you can actually do very good skills development without equipment. If you looked at John's video, even though he's got this wonderful facility, most of the activities they could actually do it with their own bare body, the body weight activities for fitness and health. Is it about the coaches? And Sean, in the first webinar that I've attended this year, was very interesting when you were referring to the 3 types of coaches in school sport, the professional coaches that are actually employed or appointed by the school's leadership, that are well qualified, well experienced, and they've got a very different motivation to be there and a very high expectation from the school to achieve. Then you have the teacher coaches that are obviously in tune with the children much more than the other coaches because they see them in classroom as well, they know them very well. But then again, they have lots of responsibilities. And as Mutheko said in his presentation, nowadays there is less teachers that are actually involved in school sport because when they finish, they probably have another job or other responsibilities, or they're just not interested of doing school sport. And then they got the volunteer sports, who are normally closer to the children, could be parents, grandparents, or old boys, old girls from that same school coming back, or some youth leaders. About time. Time is always precious, and what we also experience that many of the children are not taking place in school sport because when school hours finish, they have an organized transport. They cannot stay, so they have to go home. Maybe they're traveling 1.5 hours to get home, actually, so they wouldn't be able to take part. Or you have many different age groups, so you can't actually have frequent training for everybody because you can't fit it in, especially if you have one coach for that sporting coach, or maybe 2, but you have different age groups, which also leads to the frequency of training as well as frequency of events. So that could be a problem. And what we find, especially in our sporting codes, that because we don't play team sports, it's more individual interaction, even though we can have team events, we don't really have enough events taking place. And if we would have come to something that instead of focusing on national schools championships or provincial, focusing on the in-house activities, the inter-school activities much more and more frequently right through the year, then I'm sure that we would have much better participation. And not to mention the socioeconomic challenges, what we are facing, not only during the pandemic, but way before that. I mean, many of our kids don't have the opportunity. And what is interesting for me, out of the three speakers, then Funeko and John and I are all coming from kind of a disadvantaged background, even though you think I'm from Europe. I'm from Eastern Europe, and we didn't have all those facilities and all those wonderful things at the beginning, or maybe my parents were not a very affluent family. We all are basically there to make a difference and to try to give back to the community. But there's many places that we don't have either those teachers or coaches or volunteers, or if they are, the children still cannot take part in that because they're poor background. So how can we change this? Now, obviously, we have wonderful programs that it can aim at physical education, health and fitness, body preparation, or that can be used for extramural activities, and I will unpack it for you just later. And then remember that it is actually a Marti code activity that I'm going to tell you about. And what is important, once we have good programs, also that we have an education and training system that is generic for all sports. We used to have a National Sports Council's initiative when we had this also called horizontal training. So you would be able to get through the basic biomechanical principles, the functional anatomy, a little bit of sports science, obviously the mental coaching, the how to improve the emotional quadrant of the coaches in emotional intelligence and mental toughness and all that. And then you start to specialize in the sport. And unfortunately, it's not really available for most of us. So we come into coaching from being an athlete before, but not really trained in. And later in life, we will start learning. Like Chester Williams, he actually was an achiever in the Springbok team. And then he started studying because he was really inspired to be a good coach. And he did ETA studies. And many of our athletes are doing that. So it's very important that we have that generic coaching background as well, not only the specific. And then we need resources. And in Gymnastics Federation, we got something that is actually easy to use. It's affordable and accessible. And I'm sure most of the sporting courts have modified programs like mini cricket and all the other things that are wonderful to have. But why don't we actually use something that is all across the board in different disciplines? What we also then can change things that, as I said earlier, is the events that we have, that they are all safe, but they have to be frequent and definitely affordable. And now that we can't do any events in South Africa until the end of this year, or maybe at the beginning of next year, it's going to be a big challenge. And it's putting us in a very difficult situation. What do I do as a school coach to actually sustain myself and maybe I'm actually making a living from what I'm doing, and most of us could be in that position. Or I'm worried about the actual school sport athletes. What are they doing this time? Because they don't have enough motivation. So we need to make the right move together. And I'm using this little example when you play chess. You actually have to be very systematic of what move you take next and foresee all the goals that they're not only for you, but for your athletes as well. So in Gymnastics South Africa, we have a development phase program. So it's mainly for the primary schools. And then I'm going to show you what we can also offer for the high schools. So in the primary schools program, it's called the Fundamental Movement Programs. And the sad reality that majority of our school-age children are in primary schools, but 63% of those children don't even attend preschool. So remember I said 12 million children that are actually under 18. So out of that, 60% would be about 7 million or more. And out of that 7 million, 63% of them never even been to preschool. And the reason why I'm talking about it, because they don't have the foundation. Less than 20% have access to any sort of physical education program. And they actually don't even do things at home, especially now. Physical education teachers training doesn't exist in South Africa. I've been here for almost 30 years and it's always been on the agenda. And we actually have maybe one institution in the whole country that I know of that is specialized in physical education teachers training is Potchefstroom University. but more the other university have got sports science, biokinetics, kinetics, whatever it is, but it doesn't really qualify you as a physical education teacher. And then it leaves you guys to actually be the phys ed teacher. But then it's not an all-round education. Physical education and movement fundamentals became a responsibility of you guys, so you have to implement. So facing the foundation phase challenge, the gymnastics can be a tool for holistic development in early childhood development, and it incorporates the physical, the cognitive, emotional, and social development of the child, which is all very important. So if you listen to John's presentation from talking about health and fitness, but wellness, so that is actually a holistic approach for early childhood development, incorporating emotional, the cognitive, the physical, and social development. Now, it's also good that we have a fundamental movement education program, that this is really essential part of brain development and forming a neural pathways for academic performance. So what we are doing with the kids at that early age is not only about their athletic abilities or to become a good athlete or excel in sports, but foundation and fundamental movement is very important for the development of the brain. That's why I'm very passionate about movement therapy as well. And we do many activities that is body and mind. And Gymnastics South Africa also can help to get ABC of movement back into basic education. So ABCs would be focusing on fundamentals like agility, balance, and coordination. And don't we all need that in sports, in any type of sports? Which is also like the A can stand for awareness, body awareness, mind awareness. B can stand for body and mind connection. And cognitive development, which is very important for academic enhancement and improvement. Our fundamental movement program is very easy to use for schools to reintroduce physical exercise, especially in the primary schools, and it complements training for all sporting codes in schools and clubs. I have like a little activity guide for each of the grades covering over 200 fundamental movement skills that are all specific, not specific for one sporting code, as I said. It's right across the board. And it's basic skills charts or flashcard and little posters. So it's quite visual. It's very easy. You can just put it out and you can actually put up stations to do the activities, which are also good to assess the children. It's very important that we don't only give out the skills, but we see the progression. And for the children to stay motivated and feel successful in what they're doing, it's very important that we can actually show them that you don't have to compare them to each other, but this is how much you improve. As John said, he had an athlete a few months ago started with 6 push-ups or 7 or 8 push-ups. In a few months' time, now they can do 60. Obviously, it's not only about the mindset, it's also about the training, what they were doing, the motivation, what they were doing, and also to show them on the way. It's hard, it's difficult to get there, but eventually, this is how much more you actually can do, and this is your progression path. So with the fundamental movement program, it's also based on the CAPS curriculum, and it includes body preparation games and playful activities. And we've got a whole video library of playful activities, which I can show you just now. Then we have fundamentals that also include an award scheme to assess basic body preparation and agility. So we actually have like little charts, as I explained, and on each chart we maybe chose 10 movements, but they are a variety of skills and physical body preparation or flexibility or different components of fitness as well. And there is a possibility, if you do these programs, there is a possibility to attain your continuous professional teachers development credit points. So that is wonderful. And it's actually, now we're working on it, that it's available online. So because we don't have any training events that can take place this year, we made a whole video library and we redesigned our workshops and courses. Instead of contact time, we can actually do them without coming to a workshop in live. So we have got a whole video library from one of our training workshops that took place in Pretoria beginning of this year. And the participants were actually coaches and teachers, and some of them were from other sporting codes, but gymnastics. So this is where I will have some just insight for you, that we do have some warm-up games and sequences. And sequences can be done with music or without music, and you put a few movements together, and then you have to remember them, which is quite unique in dance, gymnastics, ice skating. But in every sport, we do have sequences. And when we're studying, we also have sequences, because we have sequences of letters, sequences of numbers in music, and it's very important for the development of the brain. Safe landing is a very important component, because in any type of sport, you have to make sure that you land safely. You either land on your feet, you can land forward as you fall, on your hands and tummy, turning your head to the side. Then you have falling backwards, sideways rolls. So as I played volleyball, we actually had to learn these skills. In order to be able to dive for a ball, then you have to roll out and get up quickly. When you are pushed in contact sports, especially rugby, soccer, it's very important that we learn these safe landing activities. Then we also have a lot of conditioning games that we have got games that are addressing the upper body, shoulder girdle, and arms. We work a lot with abs and core and back, and I saw some of the activities on the video from John when they were doing this long dish hold, and he could even stand on one of the athletes' tummy because it was so firm and held strong. Don't do that, guys, at home. And then we have activities for legs, partner activities, just to make it more fun, and group activities. So these are some of the activities that you might already do while you were coaching, but we just have a nice vocabulary of showing you and leading you to those activities and how to use them. Also, we have a whole set of manipulative skill development activities that are using either skipping ropes or any type of balls, because it's very important to get, especially in the ball games, that you use activities to eye, foot, or eye-hand coordination. And we also have some activities for obstacle course, which is not only about physical activities, but also about problem solving and speed. I actually want to mention that gymnastics now have got parkour, which is part of our new discipline on international level and on national level. And it seemed to be a nice way of getting kids involved in schools, or to teach them how to play safely. So now I try to do my best to do this sharing, but I really couldn't find a function of how to do the sound. So if Sean, you can help me there, please.
I don't know how you want me to do it. I don't know if we should, if you don't want to just talk it through whilst it's playing.
Yeah, that might be a possibility. So there is an activity.
This before, sit in line with this.
You can't hear the sound, can you?
Offering, you're going to be the referee, all right?
Yes, I love it.
So basically, this is a video of.
Okay, so the game is
that it's called a spider football. And I just basically have a ball.
So you are allowed to move the ball either with your feet
the one team
or with your hand
has got a
towards
hook
the
on the other side of
but
the
you mustn't pick
area.
up
So
the
this
ball,
is their ball.
especially because you
And they're only allowed to walk in
rear support
spider walk.
position.
So
And your goal
basically, it's a
is
rear support
to
position.
put the ball into the
And then
hula
you
hoop.
just have to.
So you are on one team, your goal is to put the ball
as much as you can elevate your hips.
your team's
So actually doing conditioning for your arms and for your core.
Give the ball to offering.
In a fun way, but
If
it's
the
an activity.
ball goes out,
everybody
offering, you
to
have
play.
to choose which is the team who will start with the free kick from the.
And what we normally do with that, after the warm-up activity, we use it as a conditioning activity. So I'm just going to show you a little.
Start. Are you ready?
You can see that in action. But obviously, I had to explain that game to the participants at the course.
But mustn't throw touch.
So you're basically playing the rule by, like in rugby, you're not throwing the ball like a hula hoop. You actually have to push it with your feet or hands, and it's like a touchdown.
Okay, and it's hard from your feet, right? Okay, so your group, are you in the same team? Okay, your group from that side. Okay, go back from halfway and go.
We also have some conditioning activities with partner.
Sorry, Marti, just so you know, the audio did work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I don't have to work through it. Thank you for letting me know.
So let's see some other upper body activities, which you can also do with a partner, right? I'm just going to show you a few and then you can try that. Remember we were in a push-up position. What is important with the push-up position? Just show that you squeeze your glutes.
Legs together.
You try to push your back a little bit round. It's also good for
This is
more
how we at the
core
work
as well as
also teach you about the correct
stability.
posture.
Nice stability.
Be able to do
Feet
this
together.
safely for the
Feet
body
together.
and to gain more strength.
And I don't want to see the Eiffel Tower, or I don't want to see that. Because there you don't actually work on the core. So this is the correct body position. All right. So now when you do this,
I'm just going to show you that what we basically did, and I told you about the sequence
and
first,
then with
with art being
No, no,
in
no,
the conditioning
sorry.
position,
It's gonna
and
be
then
like
we
this.
teach the sequence in a push-up
4,
hold.
5, 6, 7, 8. But now we're going to do that in a push-up hold.
Unless you can clap.
So,
no.
No, right hand.
Opposite.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I like that.
1, 2, 3, 4. If I want to involve more core, 5, 6, 7, and 5, 6, 7, either way. Okay, so you can try these two activities with a partner. The one that you're just touching hands, and the sequence of 8 different.
Okay, sign up for one.
No claps, no claps.
Do not move your body. Don't tilt your body. Don't tilt your body. Try to be stable here. Here you go.
Okay, and what we also have is the 4x4 fitness program that is designed for 4 different age groups: primary school, high school, or adults. So not only definitely for adult athletes, but also for the teachers and the coaches, or people at the office. Obviously it's for the public, and also for our older people like 60 and plus. So basically just a little that's like for our school activities, just one of the activities that I chose. And then we actually did that video shoot at a school environment just to show that you can actually use this program also at your in your classroom. So if many of you are teachers maybe at your school that you attended this webinar, you could actually use this program very well as an icebreaker in the classroom. So we've got 4 different activities. We've got 4 different activities. You can see on the right side of the screen. You've got jumping jacks as a cardiovascular activity, sit-ups. You can just either do that on your chair or wherever. Sideways lunges or elevated push-ups. So now you guys were sitting here for about 2.5 hours already. So I just like you to try it, feel that. So it could even be just a little icebreaker in your classroom. So you imagine you guys are sitting in the classroom of kids, and the children cannot concentrate anymore because there was, even though you had interactive activities with them in the classroom. So what I'd like you to do is actually just push your hand. Now it's time for you to do some exercise. So push your hands on your side of your chair you're sitting on, and then you move your knees towards your chest. Just do 10 of these. Just 10. And then you will probably feel that already in your abs, and especially in your lower abs. The other thing that you can try to do is part of our adults program as well, is just sit on your chair, but now you push your hips forward and you do little dips. Just do 5 of these. So I'm now disappearing from the screen. So you probably feel that in your arms, and maybe you can just put some feedback in the chat box for us. And also what you can do, are you sitting on the edge of the chair and then put your feet flat on the ground. So now you go up and do a little jump and sit back and do a little jumps. Just do 5 of these with me. Don't be lazy. So I'm sure that you actually do feel a bit of a cardiovascular activity going. So this fitness program, basically what we have also that is for different age groups, and this is now the high school one. And I don't have to play that to you, but basically each of the different age group, we have a short little video with a description of the activity. It's on our website. It's actually free. You can just go and find them. But obviously, these little cards are very nice because we use these as a test card. So remember, I told you that it's nice to do the assessment for the children. This is where you can actually put their best results of the month. So how many skipping you could do in a rope? How many sit-ups can you do in 30 seconds? How many straight jumps can you do in 30 seconds? How many push-ups you can do in 10? It's not new, and it doesn't have to be 30 seconds for the primary. It could be 20 seconds for them. And what we do, if you want to do a whole cycle, that's why we call it 4x4 as well. So you can basically have 4 different activities, repeat them 4 times, and it will take you less than 10 minutes. And if they do that every day, it's great. So what your athlete can actually do at home now is to stay fit. So Roneko said that now there is an ability that children can come back on one-on-one with cricket, for example, and in rugby as well. They're still not allowed to do group activities. The good news is that individual activities and non-contacts are going to be allowed in school. And actually, there was a letter sent out from the Department of Basic Education that is encouraged to do, but more than likely they're not going to do that straight away at the end of August when they're going back. But let's say from the beginning of September or end of September, you would be able to already do these activities with the children at school. But why not they can do that at home? And you can just tell them, okay, I'd like to see how many of these you can do, but not only just tell me, you actually record it, and you can even give them this little certificate of attendance or achievement, and it's their own progression. It's not compared to anyone else. And the advice that I would give, it's very important that those kids can actually do these activities like the other ones that I'm going to show you at home, because, and you can put them in your Zoom classes, or you can send up a WhatsApp video to your athletes. And this is what I'd like you to do. And you just maybe write that program down or take pictures of this, or you make your own plan and you interact with them. What is your improvement? How much of that you can do? And also to involve the parents or all the siblings in that activity, so then they can actually help them to do that much better. So when they come to your one-on-one training, then they basically have to spend time on polishing up on their basic skills and master them. Because when we haven't been doing all these skills with the cricket bat, with passing the rugby ball, with the volleyball setting and spiking or serving or anything, they are really behind. And that's what we can do to actually improve. I just want to show you a little example. How is our 4x4 fitness actually also useful in schools for school breaks? This is a group of little primary school kids. They must be about grade 2s. And then on the side here, you will see the older girls from the school who are actually the leaders of that activity. They're just using their older little chairs, so they have to take it outside, but that can be also done in the classroom. They just chose to do 5 of these for the demonstration of that activity. It's actually in KZN. And this is the activity I asked you to do when you have to do your dip, tricep dip. So the best solution for our all-round fitness is actually rope skipping and fitness in a box. And what we've created, we've got posters that each poster has got 10 skills. And we've got 6 progression levels. So you can start from grade R all the way up to high school, because the high schools don't have to start with the easy ones, or they just do that quick. But it's an easy to implement solution that will get you guys moving. And rope skipping is ideal for development of movement vocabulary, physical literacy, and fitness for all different age groups. And did you actually know that 10 minutes of rope skipping worth 45 minutes of jogging? And you can do that at home again. So that is a good thing about that. In a lockdown period, especially in the first 6 weeks or 8 weeks, we were not allowed to even go outside. So it was actually the best thing, unless you went to shopping, but no exercise. I did my rope skipping every day, actually, as my cardiovascular and strength activity as well. What we basically are offering, that we have like 60 ropes with adjustable length, because it's very important that the ropes can actually turn in the handles. And we have a whole video library of 60 different skills. We have a beginner guide with activities to introduce all the fundamental skills in rope skipping. Individual skill charts with posters, assessment tools, just like I did that with my other fitness program, and some warm-up games and play within that little beginner guide. Again, you don't have to go to any workshops. You can actually just buy this whole pack. It's in a plastic box with a lid. Everything is inside. The reason why we chose 60 ropes, because it can also be bought by your school, and then they share it between the classes. Now, the rope itself is basically making a bubble around you, because you're swinging the rope. There's about 2.5 meters space in front and behind you already, and you're keeping your hands away. So it gives you another 1.5 meters. So this naturally actually create that social and physical distancing, what we actually can do. And the letter that was sent out mentioned that rope skipping is also part of the curriculum. So it is really a good skill. And I'm just going to show you these are the little videos that are part of the package on a USB stick. So you don't even have to have an online facility to be able to get through the program. That's why we made it that way, because we know that especially in the remote and disadvantaged areas, they don't really have enough internet facility. So that the first one is going to be a little school or grade 1 activity. Very simple, you just have to do your lunges forwards and backwards. Remember, it's not only cardiovascular activity, but it's great for eye and coordination. The next activity is going to be a bit of a running in the rope, and this is something that you can actually do as an assessment or even as a competition. How many running steps can you do in 30 seconds? While at the World Championship, you go to my class and it comes to but this is a skill that is excellent for any sport you want to do. Any basketball players, volleyball players, boxers, but the reason why this is the skills is because so in learning 1 or 2 skills, it actually will give you maybe 200, 300 jumps a time. So look at this skill basic. Now you're crossing your arm under your leg. It's a lot of fun. The kids, and they're so inspired to be able to learn that trick. The most advanced skill obviously is the double under. That is really difficult to do. So you basically do, and then you jump twice. You swing the rope twice while you jump once. So these programs, like the rope skipping program, is also excellent for cross training. I was actually involved with Ajax Cape Town a few years ago with a cross training program where we had the under 13, under 14, and the under 15 teams on Mondays. They were coming on Mondays to do non-soccer. And we were not really focusing on physical fitness and strength and flexibility. We did a bit of that during the warm-up activities, but more importantly, we were doing skills to expand their movement vocabulary, to expand their ability of doing other things, because the biggest problem in South Africa, because we are very poor with physical education, our children very early age specialize in a sport. They start playing rugby without knowing how to run properly, without knowing how to pass and catch, without knowing how to fall safely. And that will lead them to, I mean, we are world champions in rugby, I'm not saying that. But imagine if all of this talent would actually have been given the opportunity to do these fundamental movements as well. We have to move out from this one. We also have some lesson plans that we actually designed just for those that they don't have any background in how to implement the program. So we got some warm-up activities, we've got some skill activities, we've got some group activities. So even if you don't have the skipping ropes, you just have a line on the ground or some ropes put down on the ground. with 3 athletes on each side, and it's a nice team activity just to get some fun together. What was very important on the previous 2 weeks ago, Claire Blanche was talking about the fun component and why children should actually take part in school sport. And what keeps them in school sport is to be with their friends, to have fun together. So it's it's another video from one of our workshops when we're teaching rope skipping skills, very, very basic skills you will see. But then we put on a piece of music. Can you not do that with the rhythm of the music? So that's his challenge, because it's not challenging your brain even more. And then we can do that in a team. It's basically basic movement, but very good. Now you have to remember that. And then you have to be in sync with the music and in sync with the track. And also it's perfect for team building. Now all these skills you can also do in locomotion, so you can make basically 10 skills out of one skill to change direction and rhythm. So how does this solve the challenges? Health and challenges that I mentioned earlier in my presentation. It was said that we have health challenges in youth, and it's perfect to improve cardiovascular fitness because, as I said, 10 minutes skipping is worth 45 minutes jogging. Our immune system is actually reduced. So now the quickest result for 5 fitness is then to maybe do the 4x4 fitness already at home. And I'm sure most of you guys already have given some conditioning programs for the kids, but they get really bored of the same stuff. Repetition is good to learn, but repetition is also leading to boredom. And as John said in his presentation, it can also put a lot of strain on the same joints or the same muscle groups. So you have to be very careful, and you need to give variety. Need to catch up on academic year. We all know that with quick physical activities that can only take 10 to 12 minutes or maybe 20 minutes, they will still have time to go back to the classroom. You will experience that the teachers and the kids coming back to school, no, we don't have time for that. But then we don't have time for our health, and the kids cannot focus for 8 hours at school without doing any physical activities. So this program can be also continued by the students at home, because they can just take they can have their own skipping rope or anything, or even if they don't have a skipping rope, they can actually just do those same movements with the feet especially, putting a line on the ground, because you could see that we have activities with the rope on the ground to start off with, and it really improves the cardiovascular fitness and eye-foot coordination already. As I said, less than 10% of the schools are actually participate in schools. So it is an easy to implement, especially primary and high school. So it would be definitely make the nation moving. And it doesn't mean you give up the sporting code, what you're doing. It basically means that all of your athletes can do something already, because it's a non-contact activity. It's allowed, it's possible. Accessibility and affordability. I told you that there is no internet that you need. The equipment that is plastic, it lasts for years. It's easy to clean as well and sanitize. It's all in a box, so you can just store it away. You can actually put it in your car if you're traveling as a coach and you have different venues to go to. So it's really very easy to make it accessible and affordable. During the pandemic, it's as I said, because you're sitting in the rope is a natural social distancing. It's very easy to clean, and the program can be continued at home. And no national schools tournament taking place. So now it basically allows for a complete virtual tournament. And you need to be a host on a single event, and you don't have to travel anywhere. National competition to include inter, district competitions, whatever. And again, now you would say, no, but I'm busy with volleyball and I'm busy with rugby or hockey. But basically, the team can maintain their fitness rope skipping, and they can compete in their own sporting team. So you can say, okay, guys, we got at the end of the session, let's see, we just, instead of playing a match, we can just do a 5-minute speed challenge. So what you do is basically choose one skill. How many times can you jump with feet together in a rope? And then your athletes can actually be paired up, facing each other. The one have a scorecard in their hands. the sheet that they can write down the result, and the other one is counting. So you as a coach has a whistle and say 3, 2, 1, go. You're counting the 30 seconds. The best is the athlete counts their own jumps and their partner counts the jumps, and at the end they write it down. They can have 3 attempts and then they switch. Or they can have 1 attempt each and then they switch in between. And at the end, you don't even have to announce who did the most, but the most important, how much they actually improved in their own progression. So your hockey team could compete against another hockey team or another age group or an A, B, and B team if you have. Your football teams can do the same thing. It's really ideal for fitness and sport codes while waiting to resume competitive programs. And why not do a competition? So the solution for that we actually had really good meetings with the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture and the Department of Basic Education. And they actually pledged it, or they kind of endorsed this program, that you also wouldn't be aware that South Africa already have achieved success in rope skipping world championships. Last year, we came back with bronze medals from the world championships in Norway. And we also have our own ambassadors like Sonopu, who you see on this picture. We also came back with a medal from China Open last year, but they all grew up from school sports. So that's a very nice way. And I'm not saying that your athletes have to go out from what the sporting code they're doing, but it's a really good complementary program. It's an opportunity for all scholars to represent South Africa internationally. We actually improve it, and it's been added to the International School Summer Games. So we would like to just show you that if we skip together, we can stay healthy with these, the departments in your province as well. And they had a meeting last weekend. They're now aware of the program. The Department of Sport in the provinces can implement this program in the school. So if you are a coach and you happen to have that box there, you can say, okay, I'd like to implement it. And you don't need to have any training for that. How would daily program work? As I said, the 4x4 fitness program can be done in between subject breaks or in the classroom. The rope skipping fitness and skills award can be used for life orientation as part of physical education, or they can also be used as school sport, as I mentioned to you. The awards challenges can be completed by each learner. Remember those little charts that I showed you? Can you do the skill or can't you do the skill? It's fine. You can still carry on. Or if you can do how many times you can repeat it without making a mistake. And it definitely will improve your fitness and it can be tracked. The tournament can actually be nationwide because we can do that online as well. And we would then welcome the provincial associations or national associations to say, we will do this, and they don't have to compete with the other sporting codes, especially not with the rope skipping crowd in gymnastics, because they are more advanced already. And this can be done on a virtual space, and maybe this platform could start something about it as well. So what is the challenge? 4 level leagues in one age group. As I explained to you, you got 2 times 30 seconds speed component, and we also have a little speed endurance component. For the little one is 1 minute, the bigger ones and the older ones. Can you jump for 3 minutes non-stop, and how many can you do? So the 2 times 30, it's actually addressing that high intensity interval training, that trendy training concept, what John actually spoke to you about. So this is what you can actually do with the skipping. And if you have your other 4x4 components in there, you combine these two, this is your best HIIT concept for training. We're also looking at possible sponsors. So if you guys know of anybody who would come on board with that, you're welcome. And then you can contact me on this number. So I wasn't here really to actually advertise the products, what we have. I'm here to try to make it possible for all other sporting codes to take part in that and to be able to tap into something that could be useful for you, because I would understand that it would be very difficult for you guys now to continue with the training and to get maybe something new for you.
Well, Marti, thank you sincerely. That's very interesting. And I must tell you, a couple of months ago, I was at Macro, and there was a skipping rope as you go out. So I took my skipping rope. So as John said, you must do intermittent fasting. So I've started that. And I've started the skipping. So there we are during this time of
That's for you,
lockdown.
Cassie. And how does it make you feel?
Yes, it
But you
makes you
see-
feel good.
And
Yes.
also, as we get a little bit like we're not competitive anymore, or we get into a different age group, our cognitive development must actually remain. That's very important. And learning new skills, especially manipulative skills, it's highly, highly advisable for anybody. So I would love to challenge John, and I will come and visit him in Paarl, and I will do a nice session for all of his program leaders, or anyone you guys would like to get like a one-on-one kind of facilitator for doing workshops for you. Right across the country, we have a nice team of people in every provinces that we do that for you.
Exactly. Thank you, Marty. And to all the coaches out there, start the skipping, start your kids skipping. That's a very, very good idea. And for all the schools that have very limited space, skipping is not bad. You know, go out one class at a time. You can all do your skipping, and a good way, a great way to keep healthy. So thank you, Marty. And
thanks so much for the opportunity. You're doing a great job, guys, because I think we need to stay motivated as coaches.
Oh, thank you very much for your support.